let's say, change that you were going to produce. And the challenge, you know, and you remember, Barack Obama started as a long-tail candidate. Everybody thought it was absurd, the idea that he thought he could be president. And he moves from being a long-tail candidate to the mainstream. And the real question is, when he builds a movement that's excited about taking, this long-tail movement, excited about taking and moving it into administration, can they sustain the faith of the extraordinary passion that has driven towards getting into office? So it's not just like this is a cool app and we're all happy about it. We're going to be extraordinarily let down if it doesn't actually translate into something very different. And there's going to be a million places where it's going to hit people that it's not very different. I mean, this the latest thing going around where the anti-counterfeiting trade agreement, ACTA, which the Bush administration, when asked to reveal certain information about the negotiations, said that they wouldn't reveal that information because it was a national security matter. And we all laughed. That was ridiculous. Well, last week the Obama administration did exactly the same thing, refused to release this information claiming national security. And there's going to be a million of these points where increasingly the people who got excited about something for the first time in 20 years are going to recognize that, you know, the revolutionary goes to Washington and then is surrounded by 1,000 normal politicians who think about politics the way it's always been. And the question is whether Obama can carry it to the next level and actually change them too. So that's a relatively easy thing to understand, how that explodes, and using these technologies people can focus and get excited about the beginning, middle, and end of that story. But the hard thing is when you start imagining motivating political change that's not inside of a framework of a campaign that has a beginning, middle, and end. Right? Because people don't know how to talk about it, like where to talk about it, like what is the thing to be talking about right now. Right? So you know, there were 4 or 5 days when I was seriously thinking about running for Congress, and lots of people tried to convince me to do it. And the only thing that really made it attractive was the sense that there would be an election, people could focus on something, they would talk about it, there would be a build-up, and there would be an event, and that would be the stuff that was necessary to draw people's attention. But without that, I do think Mark's right about the problem of the noise. Like, you've got to find some way to coordinate the attention on something to get real change to happen. Now, it's happened historically without something like a framing of election. I think, you know, if you never saw the film, you don't remember this, you should go back and watch it in the film Gandhi. The amazing moment when Gandhi is succeeding in getting millions of people to march with him, not by broadcasting the announcement, but by a whisper network of people inside the community, millions of people telling each other what to do, and then everybody coordinating on actually following him and marching with him in an astonishing way. Now that's, in some sense, the potential of what these technologies has produced, the opportunity for something like a Gandhi again to come along and pull these things together. And it will be amazing if somebody does it outside of the context of a political campaign like a presidential campaign. But I don't think there's anybody like that on the horizon, and I'm not yet convinced we can actually get serious enough attention to, you know, the fundamentals of change to make that possible.
And why didn't you run?
Well, first I was going to lose. What really convinced me is that there was no way to actually be authentic as a candidate for reform once you were inside the system. There's no way. You know, inside the system you spend literally 30, 40, 50% of your time raising money. How can you be somebody fighting about changing the way Congress raises money if half your time you're spending raising money? So I've actually committed, I promised my firstborn male child that I will never run for Congress, just to make it clear that any changes we're pushing for are changes that are committed citizen changes, people from the outside trying to change the system. And that's enormously challenging to imagine how that's going to be possible.
It's a very healthy decision.
My family agrees.
You know, I think that's you know, you're right. I mean, you do have to have definitely an issue for people to participate. I think that you know, with this new generation, I think that you're going to see a lot more focus on just the fact that people want to be socially active, right? The people that want to be, effectuate change, right? Regardless of what it is. And it can be through a nonprofit, or it can be through a corporation, or it can be through a candidate. And, I think that one of the advantages that we have with this sort of rise of social activism and the whisper networks that you're talking about, I mean, that's one of the most amazing things that it blows me away about, Amber, right? I didn't know about her. I hardly even knew about Obama, right? I mean, I did, but I enjoyed Obama because my friend sent me an email and said, hey, you got to check out this video. It's fun. So, that kind of brings me into sort of another area of topic that is kind of a little out there. But I think that it's kind of a fun discussion to have. Larry, during the last presidential season, we saw a tremendous amount of remix artists engaging in politics. What kind of roles do you see things such as remix culture, gaming, crowdsourcing playing in the future of campaigns? I mean, especially considering what's going on in the AP right now.
Yeah, so one of the most exciting things that happened, I think, was that we turned John McCain into a copyright reformer. Because midway through the McCain campaign was terrified because there were so many people who were lodging copyright complaints against his YouTube channel. And YouTube had this fixed rule about saying they were going to shut down the channel if 3 copyright complaints were hit against it. And of course, you shut down a channel, even if it takes just 24 hours to get it back up, that's death to a campaign. So he wrote a fantastic letter to YouTube saying that these were obvious examples of fair use, and the First Amendment demanded that YouTube pay attention to fair use much more. And of course, YouTube said, to hell with you, John McCain. We're just following the law, and the law is ridiculous, but we got to do what the ridiculous law says. And all of a sudden, you began to get people on the other side of the political divide recognizing how the existing system of copyright makes no sense of how this new creativity is taking off and should be able to flourish. So I think the demonstration of a wide range of creativity in this last campaign is going to force a change in the rules regulating the space, or make copyright completely irrelevant, sort of make it the sort of thing that only lawyers worry about, and not in a good way.
Mark, do you mind if I ask you about that? Because being on the McCain campaign, what was it like? What did you experience in that regard?
Well, I don't think I think that was actually a general election that happened, but so I wasn't part of the campaign at that point. Listen, I agree, and I think that for amateur remixing in a political context, I agree completely. Now, I have a different point of view as a former songwriter about remixes that are with a commercial application. And I think it's important that we remember a line where artists who are creating this get compensated. But I agree that that's in an amateur remix, that's an appropriate line. But I do want to remind everybody that there are people creating these original works that, and I went back to Nashville recently, and half the songwriters are out of business down there, and so.
But you can't say that they're out of business because of remix, right?
No.
Nobody's losing any money because of remix, and in fact, they're gaining money. So you raised the question of AP. The center we have at Stanford is defending now, and also prosecuting on behalf of Shepard Fairey in the AP case. Right? So here, a photographer working for AP takes a snap which Shepard Fairey uses as a reference picture to make the famous Shepard Fairey poster, Hope poster. And they come back and they, are demanding, as they say, respect for the artist, right? Well, I want to respect the artist. In my view, the artist's name is Shepard Fairey here, and Shepard Fairey is perfectly happy to give credit, acknowledgement to the underlying photographer who took that photograph, which, if you look at it, there are 1,000 equivalent photographs. But the idea that you should evoke federal law to stop Shepard Fairey from distributing his work because he was inspired by some other bit of media is insane, right? We're surrounded by media, and if you're not allowed to actually express what you're surrounded by, then you don't live in a free society. And we don't live in a free society according to the rules of the AP's lawyers.
I don't know where to go with that one. But,